I'm very excited to have my next guest join us. Her debut solo album, Vicious Creature, is out right now. The one and only Lauren Mayberry.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for being in this amazing cool
Yes,
venue.
you're very comfortable in this venue, but before I even go there, I probably should start this all over again and address you appropriately. Dr. Mayberry.
Technically, yes.
Yes.
I don't think I did that much.
You're in good company.
warrant it,
There's a
but-
Dr. Swift. There's a Dr. Mayberry now.
Well, I mean, Dr. Swift, Dr. Mayberry, other doctors, Dr. Mayberry. But yeah, I mean, it was kind of crazy. It was the university I went to that gave me an honorary doctorate. So I guess I'm a doctor of music or something.
I was about to
don't know.
ask, what is the doctorate in?
Music and letters, I think.
Music and letters. Wow.
So it's the only way I'll get one. So
Wow.
I definitely took it.
Do you have a nameplate at home?
I
in
have
your
a
home
I
office?
have a little scroll certificate thing. I'm not making people address me as thus
Okay.
yet. We'll have to
Okay.
see, maybe.
All right, Doc.
Well, that's going to be tricky because there's already a doc in churches. So I'm like doc with a K, doc
Oh.
with a C. It's going to be tricky. We'll have to fight it out. when
Well, on the
time
solo
comes.
tour, does your dressing room have the nameplate, Dr. Mayberry?
No, there's mostly one room on the solo tour, so everyone's just in the same room.
Well, make sure they do that for Bottle Rock. We're catching you before your Bottle Rock appearance here in the Bay Area.
I will advance that now.
Yeah.
Yes.
But this venue you're very familiar with, obviously. The Bay Area loves you. You've been here a bazillion times. California, I recall our very first interaction during the church's inaugural tour in like 2013 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
You were up and down the coast in
we
California.
played a lot. We played a lot of shows. Well, generally we played a lot of shows, but especially the first few years in the band, we played everything everywhere. And I think San Francisco was our first American show. I think, if I remember correctly. We did the Independent. I think was our first.
Great memory.
Was the first church's show. So I think so. People will correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. I'm sure. But yeah, we've always had great shows here. And everyone's been really kind to me with the solo record as well. So
Yeah.
I feel I'm pretty privileged and lucky.
I mean, just the fact that when you announced you were doing a solo tour and releasing solo material, the tickets sold out just like that here from what I can recall. It was like 2023.
Yeah. I mean, yes. I think it was always a roll of the dice to know how people would respond to it because we've been so lucky with how people felt about the band for so long. And singer from band does solo album is kind of a lot of people's worst nightmare scenario, really. But yeah, it felt like a time where it was the first time in the course of the band where it felt like we needed to take a break from it just to kind of get our heads right with what we were trying to do. And everybody agreed that we should take time and do other stuff and then come back. So I didn't really know what would happen. So yeah, it's been really amazing how people have responded to it. And I feel like I've learned a lot just about all parts of it. Like, I've done so much with churches, but it's been really interesting to see it from a different standpoint. And yeah, the writing, the touring, I feel like I've got a different perspective on it now as well.
I was really curious, especially for me as a fan and others that I've spoken to, in that the church's tour had just wrapped up. You played a bunch of festivals and what have you, released a one-off single, and then you closed the chapter, right? And then all of a sudden, I'm going solo, and all this material is ready. So how many
like, what?
years?
When did I started
Prior.
Writing solo stuff springtime 2022, and Screen Violence, the last Churches album, came out end of summer, start of autumn 2021. So I kind of was writing between the Churches tours, and I kind of knew that I wanted to flip-flop between the two for a little bit. And in hindsight, I see that Churches putting out a song called Over, and then me saying I was going to put out solo music was maybe not giving the correct signals to people that we intended. But yeah, we didn't even I feel like it's interesting when people are like, when the band announced they were going on hiatus, I'm like, it's not hiatus, we took 2 years off. It's not hiatus. Well, I suppose in like this, in the contemporary music landscape, that is a hiatus of sorts, and you do other things. So yeah, I think it's been healthy to, I don't know, just try and write different things and put your head in different creative places and see what you can learn, because I feel like we've all learned so much from each other being in the band. But there was a point where we were trying to write new Churches music, and I just felt that we were going over old ground, or that it just didn't feel like anybody was that excited about it. And I don't think that any of us really want to be in that position. I think we all hold the band in too high in esteem. And also the people that listen to the music. I'm like, we could have just farted out the Fifth Churches album. You know, we made almost half a record twice during 2021 and 2022. And then we were like, this stuff's just okay. And I kind of feel that you should hold yourself to a higher standard than that. And you want to be excited about what you're making so that it feels like that when you give it to other people. So there are 2 shelved, half-baked things that were going to be the Fifth Churches album and aren't. So, I think when we'd done that, we were like, okay, it's not for lack of trying that we're not finding this path. It's just, like, I can be more zen about it now, where I'm like, it just wasn't the time to do it. And I think, I don't know, we've never really taken a break from the band. We've been so lucky to have so much to do, but it's been like album and then tour every 2 years since the beginning of the band. So I think we thought we could keep doing that infinitely, and then we were like, turns out sometimes there's not enough left in the bucket to, sometimes you have to go, like, not even live a little, listen to different things, read different things, watch different things, just experience some stuff away from each other to bring different things back to show each other. And I think that's proven to be the case. So
what do you attribute to being so prolific over the course of all those years? It was almost, 8 years, 10 years probably, going back to before the first album was even released, right? Mm-hmm. So being a young person, 16 years old, starting to get into this, then in your 20s getting into churches, you have a fearless mentality and you just blurt out stuff.
Yeah. Yes, for better or worse.
Right.
For better or worse.
Yes, and we know about that, but songwriting wise as well, I'm sure you choose different words now that maybe that you wouldn't have in the past. So what do you attribute to being prolific for so long, and then now just being tapped out, so to speak?
I think that there was always a drive in all 3 of us in the band, because we'd all been in other projects beforehand, and we knew, even though we couldn't really perceive it properly at the time, we knew that what was happening with Churches was really different to anything that had happened to us before. And I feel like people talk about the band and make a big deal out of the Scottishness, but a lot of the time in a way that's kind of a bit shticky, or like a little bit.
I think I read somewhere on social media they called you in jest, I think, the angsty Scottish Carly Rae Jepsen.
Oh, I mean, I have no problem with any of those things.
Okay.
But I think that when people talk to us about Scottishness, it's always kind of like this kind of cute aside. And I'm like, but this doesn't happen for people where we come from very often. So I think we were very conscious that we wanted to make the most of it. We wanted to be doing right by all the people that had worked with us, all the people who would love to have had this opportunity from where we come from. And then a healthy dose of fear, I think, as well. You're like,
right.
work hard so you don't mess it up. And then, I think that for a long time we were doing lots because we really wanted to do lots. And then when we were keeping going, I was like, you're supposed to tour to promote a record that you believe in. And if you're trying to make the record and it's not coming out great, then what are you making? What are you doing? And I think that was the first time we'd ever had a moment where we were like, we need to step back and try and get perspective on what we're trying to do, rather than just keep running and running and running. And I do think that some space and some time, and even for me, I was like, I've not written anything that wasn't Churches for 12 years. And I think I hadn't really tried to write any lyrics that weren't to fit in to something that had been made already. And I think to myself, I was like, you need to go and learn more about your craft, like the craft of that out with this context, so that when there's a puzzle to figure out, you have a better understanding or a better grounding in how to do that, if that makes sense.
No.
So,
yeah.
I don't know. Just trying to get my 10,000 hours of stuff, I think.
Almost as if it's like imposter syndrome and you want to keep proving yourself as well.
Maybe. I think it was also a bit like we know ourselves so well in the context of the band, but I was pretty young when the band started. I was 23, 24, which I feel like in terms of your like creative identity or whatever, that's pretty early to decide that. And I was the last person to join the band. The band and the sound of the band and all those things have pretty much been determined by the time I got there. So I feel like a lot of my work was trying to figure out how do I write for this project? How do I write for what works here and what people want? And I don't know, I think I got to a point where I was like, you need to go away and figure out what your actual point of view is on things, because that's always my favourite thing in other lyricists, is that they have a point of view. Like, you can tell, not in a political sense necessarily, but like when you hear that person singing, you know who that is and what they're about. And I think also I've spent so long, in good ways, like trying to figure out what everybody else's point of view is, and then be like, and then what's mine? How do we merge those? And I think there was a minute where I was like, you need to go and like, maybe, it sounds pretentious, but I do think as a writer, if you don't know yourself, you can't write honestly. And there was a point where I was like, I feel like I'm focus grouping all the time, and I don't know what I think about anything. So I was like, yeah, need to go do some stuff.
You need to live
stuff a little bit, and then be like, what do you do when you're not Lauren from Churches, which I love to be, but I remember talking to the guys, and we were friends with the guys in Paramore, and talking to them about it a bit, about them taking a break, and that's literally what Hayley had said about it. She was like, I've never not been that person, and it's hard to exist or hard to write sometimes when you're in that space, because it's almost like, I don't know, I kind of feel like it's almost like you're a caricature of yourself after a point. And the stuff that we'd been writing, I feel like I'm writing what I think a Church's lyric is. So I'm kind of like, it's quite disassociative, kind of.
Almost as if you're in automatic mode.
A bit. And then I was like, well, that means you're regurgitating things, which I don't want to be doing for myself or for the people that would be receiving that music. And then I was like, oh, it's quite strange it's quite trippy to realize that you're like, oh, I'm kind of like not, I don't know, especially for writing, that's the only bit you get to be in control of everything. And I'm like, if you're not present in your, it's so wanky to say present, but if you're not present in your own something, when you're writing, even if you're not trying to write from your perspective, I don't know. There was a point where I was like, I'm just cooked. My brain's cooked. I've got to go figure out some other stuff and then come back to it.
Which we kind of get a taste of in terms of understanding your point of view, your mindset in a lot of these songs, being a people pleaser, overthinking things,
maybe,
right? Family as well, and watching parents get older and really being a human. Like, I think up until this point, there are many people that associated your songwriting with Churches to relationships. And that's one of the hallmarks of, I think, Churches, is the relatability factor in lyrically, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now you're taking it to a different level with your solo material.
That's very nice of you to say.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think when I look at a lot of the Churches stuff, to me, I know that only a handful of the songs are about romantic relationships, but a lot of them are about other relationships that aren't those. But I don't know. I think that's always what's been really nice about it, is that people can kind of read into that what they want to. And I think for me, that's then I got into the space where I was like, there's two kinds of Churches lyrics. There's these kind of more emotional ones, and then there's the more kind of esoteric picture painting ones, and those are the two lanes. And then I was like, that's great that those are the two lanes, but it's weird that you think that there's only two modes that you can write in. So that was the main thing I set myself the challenge of, was when you're not thinking about that, what kind of stuff do you write, and what kind of other storytelling is there? And when we're working on new Churches music, I feel like that's been a really useful thing to have done, because I can offer more things and more places we can take songs, which I think is helpful for everybody in the project, if rather than relying on the same person driving the car all the time. Sometimes we can be like, but what about that? Wouldn't that? And if they've not thought of that and they're excited by it, then this is a good thing. I'm like, great, we're passing the baton around a bit more. And I think that is a helpful thing to do, especially when you've known each other for so long. It's nice to be able to like surprise each other in a positive way.
Right.
I guess.
Right. Well, there was no baton to throw around this time.
No, it's just me passing it.
Just you.
Back and forth.
Okay, I'm in the living room. I'm in the bedroom. And coming up with lyrics and so forth. What song was kind of the catalyst for sparking this more personal type of exposure and the theme of the solo material?
I think at first I thought it was all going to be this kind of theatrical, dramatic, not necessarily about me era. And there's definitely songs like that on the record, but I think the first one that kind of I was like, oh, maybe this is a different type of thing, was a song called Are You Awake, which ended up being the first single. But that we'd already written a lot of the other songs on the record by that point, and that one, as we were writing it, I was like, this probably won't be for me because I wouldn't ever talk about these things necessarily, or not that there aren't vulnerable lyrics in churches, because there are, I think, especially on screen violence, but I think it's harder to do that if you're not used to it or if you're in the context of other people, whereas I feel like now, having done it, I'm more willing to present that as an idea to other people. But yeah, I feel like the record's a nice balance of the kind of more flamboyant, fun, performative pop stuff, and then some more doom and gloom, introspective stuff as well.
Yeah, you're definitely putting yourself out there. You're not only doing your trademark dancing and fist pumping and what have you, but you have the face paint and face makeup, or at least in the past few shows that I've seen, at least, doing covers here in San Francisco. You did Hole's Miss World.
Oh, yes.
And which was great. Yeah. You did the Madonna cover, and so which was stretching your wings, so to speak.
And I do think that's mostly what I was trying to get myself to do. I was like, in a good way, we were all really comfortable, but in a way that I was like, well, what's comfortable and what's complacent? I feel like you want to, I don't know, I feel like you should be pushing yourself a little bit every record. Like, just push yourself into a slightly different space. It doesn't mean like throwing out all the good stuff or the things that people like about the project, but I kind of feel like you should be pushing yourself and challenging yourself a bit. So, and then for me, I was like, I think I've gotten really pro at certain things in music, which sounds very arrogant. I just mean from having done it, I was like, enough times. And I think that's great to be that well rehearsed and be able to deliver that to an audience. But there's certain things I think I was getting kind of disconnected from. And I was like, I've not just like tossed stuff up on a stage and played. And the whole like trying to learn a different cover in every city was just to try and get myself out of the head space of like complete perfectionism, and there can only be these songs on the set list, and any deviation from that is terrifying. And also, well, that's not how we used to play music. That's weird that you play music like that.
Right.
And obviously, like, we want the show to be really good, and you want to have a standard, but also it's weird to be a little bit disconnected from any kind of spontaneity. So I was like, I just have to scare myself back into some kind of spontaneity and then merge that with the organization. And that's kind of where I want to be, I think.
Which is a mantra that we've been hearing a lot, is do things that scare you.
Well, I think so, yeah. I don't know. I feel like quite a fearful person, but I'm good at making myself do those things in a certain context.
And that's what a doctor is supposed to do.
Thank you. Doctors are supposed to terrify themselves.
That's right.
And other people.
Scare themselves into doing things. Sonically speaking, I feel like Better If You Don't and Anywhere But Dancing are kind of sister songs.
They're kind of cousins, I think, and they're both songs about Glasgow, which I think is interesting. And we've been talking a bit about that in the, I guess, yeah. So we're working on the new Churches album now, and we've been talking a bit about, what are the songs that we come back to the most on the previous records, and why is that? And we talked about Better If You Don't the other day, because I was like, there's something in that, and like Asking for a Friend, the songs that feel not Scottish in terms of the sonics necessarily, but in terms of, I feel like there's an emotion in it, or a something in it that feels, I don't know, feels more Celtic to me or something, more Glaswegian. Something.
I'm just an ignorant American, so please describe or give me an example of something that is Celtic.
I don't know. I think when I think about Glasgow, I always get very annoyed when people kind of talk about it as if it's this one-dimensional, grey, gloomy place, because obviously there is a certain hardness to the city. There's there's certain things that are just, life is pretty fucking tough in a lot of places, and But I also think there's an incredible humour to it. There's an incredible warmth. There's an incredible kindness. And when I look at the amount of great music that has come out of Scotland generally, but Glasgow specifically, I'm like, there's something in that. There's something in
There's something different there.
You know, I was like, the math says that there's something in that. And I just think there's a certain kind of like humour and a warmth, but also like a melancholy in certain kinds of Scottish storytelling, which I've been thinking about a lot.
Must be all that haggis that is being consumed.
Well, I think it might be all the beer and the sadness. It's probably like, I don't know, we were talking about that, like this much sunshine, I don't know about it.
Oh.
I don't know. I was like,
there's only so much you can take.
It's only, and I don't know, I wonder if like that level of kind of like low hanging grey sky, you don't go outside. We're not sunbathed. There's like 4 days of sunshine a year in Scotland, and everyone like sunbathes wherever they can. They will like sunbathe on a roundabout or something. If there's
Are you serious?
No, there's not. We got to make the most of it. So I don't know. I think there's an intensity of feeling in it culturally as a place, I think.
See, I have this image of Glasgow now of people just hanging out at the roundabout waiting for the sun to come out.
If you come on the one sunny day in like July, it's bikinis in the park. It's tops off. It's red skin everywhere. Just
red skin everywhere.
Just burnt.
And a bowl of haggis next to them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I guess you come around to haggis on New Year, Hogmanay, and on Burns Night in January.
Ignorant American speaking.
I don't tend to eat it super regularly, but on the special occasions, like sometimes at a wedding, sometimes on Hogmanay.
Oh, I see. So
it's not like
it's not a common everyday staple.
No.
Okay. Good to know.
There you go. See, cultural exchange. I'm passing it on.
There we go.
This is good.
There we go. You just released or recently released a nice updated version of Sorry, etc., with your good pal Joe Talbot of Idols. And it's so interesting how you guys met. It was via a podcast.
Yes, because he had his internet talk show during COVID. So we did a Zoom COVID talk show, I guess, and just kind of stayed in touch after that. Just like email pals. And the first time we actually met in real life was for him to record the vocal for the song, which is quite odd because we've been like
DM buddies
chatting for so long. But yeah, I mean, I love it. I love that band, and I love his voice. Like generally, like literally his voice. This like the way he writes, I think is really special. And I don't know. I think it's nice to see somebody that just creates really fearlessly like that. And I think we're taking a lot of notes from that. Because
goes back to what we were saying earlier about being fearless when you were younger and approaching and being prolific and looking for that spark.
I think so. And I think that churches, like when we were coming up in Glasgow, like we had all been in other bands, so we had people that, you know, there was a scene to a degree in that way, but like churches itself didn't really have a scene necessarily. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like we've always been a little bit, it's not at sea, but like it's been hard to know where to put us a lot of the time. And then I've always kind of look at other bands where I'm like, no, they've got all these people, and they're all friends with those people, and they're all friends with those people. And I feel like we're just on this little island sometimes. Right. And that's what I really love about somebody like Joe is that he's always like trying to bring people together and create community and that kind of stuff around the music. And I feel like that, I think, is really nice to be. I don't know. I just didn't think he would ever want to do anything.
It's so awesome. I love that version, this updated version.
And I feel like it takes a very cool, smart, switched on guy to want to sing those lyrics. Because I was like, you can change the lyrics, do whatever you like. And he was like, nah, the power in it is going to be the flip between the male and the female vocal and me singing it like that. And I was like, okay. So I respect it because there are many fellas who wouldn't do it. So
was there any inspiration to try to rework some of the other songs on the album?
I mean, I feel like once I've done that, I don't know where I'll go. I've been pretty lucky with the features generally. I'm like, we've got Robert Smith on a Churches album. We got Joe on this one. I'm like, all right. I feel happy.
You're done.
I'm not going to wish for anything. I'm not going to wish for anything else because that would just be silly.
Okay. Well, I'm going to throw it out there. You've been to the Eras tour. I saw your stories or whatever that you were at the Cowboy Carter. So let's just throw that out there. To collaborate with the Doctor. 2 doctors. Come on now.
Beyonce is the doctor of all doctors.
True.
Surely at this point. I mean, I don't know. When I say I wept during a Cowboy Carter tour. I did some real weeping. I did a lot of weeping, like excitement weeping, and then sadness weeping, and then moved weeping. I paid handsomely for a cocktail with a cowboy hat on it. I was all in. So,
wow, all the tears in the hat.
And I just think she is the ultimate at everything. Like, obviously the vocals, obviously the choreography, the lyrics, the storytelling, like the way. And I was watching the show and I was like, this is so fucking political, but people are still having fun.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, she's brought it in under the radar, and she's saying these things that are so powerful. And somebody was talking to me about it, and they were like, is she the Prince? Is she the Bowie? Is she? And I was like, I think she, like, for whoever is the contemporary version of those things, I would say it's probably Beyonce, but also Beyonce is Beyonce.
Right.
And I was like, I don't know, I think it's really cool to be looking at who are the most exciting creative people, who are the most exciting pop stars, and it's all these women doing really interesting creative things, like Gaga, what she's doing, and I'm like, I'm here for it. I'm like,
it's so awesome.
I'm screaming, I'm clapping like a seal, just having a great time.
Clapping like a seal.
You know, just having a lovely time.
I love that analogy.
You know?
Before we go, I've been dying to share this with you, and I know it would never see this if I DM'd you. I'll give this to you. This is a screenshot of your story from, I don't know, 2021 or 2, during the pandemic or some point in time.
I hope I wasn't saying
says,
anything weird.
YouTube knows me better than any interviewer will. So I'll give this to you, and you can pick maybe 3 as to why you were searching for these topics.
Okay. Well, the bottom one is Kings of Leon Shreds. I like to visit that video every so often because I think it's important to just be aware of it. And I'm like, at any
just
point,
be aware of
any of us could, well, just be aware of the shreds of it all.
Okay.
I was like, never take yourself too seriously, because if you do, somebody will shreds you. And I think it's important to know that.
This is true.
So I did that. I think I looked up Daniel Kaluuya just because I love Daniel Kaluuya. I think he's an incredible actor. I personally am like Bond. That would be my Bond if I was allowed to choose.
It wasn't like you were binge watching Black Mirror or something? Or?
I think I just rewatched Get Out.
Oh, okay.
And depending when this was, I must have rewatched Get Out and then I went to see Nope. So it'll be somewhere around that time period. I see. And I just think he's a really interesting, cool person. And then what else? Japanese Breakfast. I mean, who doesn't love? Who doesn't love Michelle? And then I looked up The Cure live Disintegration. So, yeah.
That's a periodic thing for you, I feel.
You just gotta come around. And that new record is amazing. And I feel like we all waited a very long time, but we had faith. We had faith in Robert, and I can't wait to see that live. I'm like, it's gonna be so good. So, yes. And then in the middle, I've searched "I Want to Love You Forever" Jessica Simpson lyrics. Not sure why, but I stand by it. I probably do know them, but that's a good cross section of my interests, I feel like.
Okay,
some
if you didn't pick that, I was going to ask you about that
like,
because I was so curious.
And then she's back as well. She's not had music out in like 15 years, and I saw she's putting tunes out. So
yeah,
good for her.
No, hats off to her. Was she kind of the? Did you like her back then? And
I feel like I liked all the chart pop at the time, so I do remember. And I think I feel like everybody remembers. That's the one I remember most for her, and then the Boots Are Made for Walking cover.
Okay, yeah.
Which I just remember her carrying a tree that had a bottle that was totally glued on, and then the car wash bit. I think there's things that we wouldn't do now.
Right.
But that's why I like it for her that she's come back and she's making different music and she's not being made to do
those type of things.
Like she just gets to have a big voice and be fucking lovely. So I hope she's lovely. I don't know if she's lovely. I decided that she is. Clapping like a seal once more.
Clapping like a seal as a doctor shall and does. Thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for chatting to me consistently over the years.
Absolutely, yes. The album is fantastic and
thank you.
Continued success, Doctor.
Thank you.
Lauren Mayberry, right here on B-Sides.